The last item that we're asked to evaluate on the management side, part 2 of the card, is the fertilizer and soil amendments recommendation. This is pretty much a check-off, and to know what the parameters are for lime requirement, phosphate, potash, nitrogen, etc., we can simply look under the fertilizer and soil amendment section of our land evaluation manual on pages 24 and 25. On the bottom of page 24, under soil pH, it tells us that pH is a measure of acidity or alkalinity in the soil from which plant roots remove nutrients from the growth. pH is very, very important from a standpoint of how it helps to determine which nutrients are soluble and therefore available in the soil. As I indicated earlier, this is pretty much a checkoff. And what I mean by that is that if the soil pH is between 4 and 6, then we should perform a lime requirement test. At this particular location, on the site card, it told us that the soil pH was 5.8. Well, that fits within the parameters of between 4 and 6, so we should mark item number 21, lime requirement test, on our evaluation card for this exercise. Also at that location, phosphorus was measured at 7 parts per million. Well, in order to be considered adequate, phosphorus must be 10 parts per million, or in excess of 10 parts per million or more, and we are at 8 or 7, so we're below that 10 parts per million. So we should have checked phosphate. Potash is 180 parts per million. Even though requirements are highly variable for potash on different crops, basically if we're 150 parts per million or greater, we consider it to be adequate for this exercise. So in this case, at 180 parts per million, we should not have checked potash. Nitrogen is said to be sufficient, so we should not have marked that one. And then, of course, item number 25, fertilizer or soil amendments not needed, is only marked if none of the items 21 through 24 are checked on that particular site. So under fertilizer and soil amendments, we should have darkened the circle beside 21, a lime requirement test, and beside 22, this site requires additional phosphate fertilizer. So that completes my review of this example situation, site number 1, land evaluation card. If you're scoring this just to see how you did, remember to add up all of the points that you obtained on both the left and right-hand side of the card. The total possible points is 75. Now, the way this exercise is evaluated for land evaluation is that unless if there are more than one item that needed to be circled within a category, you needed to get it 100% correct to get any of the points. So in other words, let's say underneath the mechanical treatment that you did mark farm of the contour, but you did not mark using divided slopes or strips, you don't get half of those points. In other words, you got one right and one wrong. You don't get 5 of the 10 points. It's either an all or none situation where multiple items are to be circled. So for the purpose of this practice exercise, you can use that parameter to add up your score and see how you did. Once you've completed this practice exercise and feel comfortable with it, then I would like you to move into land evaluation example situation or site number 2. I'm going to ask you to complete this exercise using your manual and using this review that we've just done of the example situation site number 1, and I'd like you to turn that in to me for points. I'm going to be looking at the number of points you score out of 75, determining that percentage, and then taking this times 20, since this exercise will be worth a total of 20 points in this class. Thank you.